After a construction hiatus of about 15 years, Zerubbabel and Jeshua resume work on the temple. But now they are confronted with opposition from the governor of the region, demanding to know if they had royal authority to resume building the temple. Join us this week as we continue our study of the book of Ezra in chapter 5. And now, here's Pastor Todd.
Thank you for joining us for the midweek message. As we're talking about the book of Ezra, if you're reading the book, it seems like very little time passes. It's almost as though you're talking about weeks or months. But in fact, when you talk about chapter 5, we are now years. From the time that they first return and the temple begins to be built, the people both lost interest and kind of wandered and did other things, and the temple was never completed. The walls of Jerusalem were never completed, and two new prophets show up on the scene. One prophet is Haggai, and the other is Zechariah. And these two prophets show up in a way to comfort the people, that God's not through with you, He's not rejected you, He's not forgotten you, but He's ready to do a work through you, that God's got a new work for you. They come in and encourage the people to begin working on the temple again, and you can imagine how the nations around them felt about that. The nations around them have been afraid the Israelites would come back together and work together as a team because they would be quite the formidable opponent. And so therefore they're not happy at all when they see the temple being finished and the walls of Jerusalem starting to be talked about being rebuilt. They're worried about the nation being rebuilt is what they're really concerned about, because the people of God have been going to different areas of the land and they have different cities, but they're still very separated. And so they're concerned about coming together for a common good. Ezra chapter 5, let's look at this together. It says, Then the prophet Haggai and Zechariah, the son of Iddo, prophets, prophesied to the Jews who were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel, who was over them. So Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, rose up and began to build the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. And the prophets of God were with them, helping them. So you see the temple being rebuilt. You see them going off and begin this incredible ministry with these two famous prophets. Notice what happens in verse 3. At the same time, Tattenai, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-Bozenai and their companions came to them and spoke thus to them, Who has commanded you to build this temple and finish this wall? So now you see the neighbors around them becoming anxious because they see building going on, the coming back together. They don't like that. So the third thing we see today is this: a new Persian leader has risen. If you recall, Cyrus was the one who made the dictate to allow them to go back, to pay the money to rebuild the temple, who got the children of Israel started at the end of the Babylonian captivity. This Persian king put all this into place. Well, he's now no longer on the scene. There's a new king. And so these people who for 60 years have probably seen the cities kind of exist but not really be rebuilt, now become concerned because they rebuild, and they really think that there's no reason this should be happening. And so they are going to appeal back to the king. So here's what happens in verse 4. Then accordingly he told them the names of the men who were constructing the building. But the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, so that they could not make them cease till a report could go to Darius. Then a written answer was returned concerning this matter. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai sent, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-Bozenai and his companions, the Persians who were in the region beyond the river, to Darius the king. They sent him a letter in which was thus. And we're going to stop right there because the letter is fairly long and I don't want to read all of it. But basically the letter is saying, would you look through your archives and see whether or not anything has ever really been written from Cyrus, or whether or not these people just have this fable that they're passing down. They're looking for a legal document. In the Persian Empire, once a legal document is established, it carries on from generation to generation. And so when a person establishes that legal document, it really has a lasting effect. It's very much a legalistic type society. So the one part that I do want to read from the letter is verse 17, because it kind of wraps everything up. And I want you to see what happens. Now therefore, if it seems good to the king, let a search be made in the king's treasure house, which is there in Babylon, whether it is so that a decree was issued by King Cyrus to build the house of God at Jerusalem, and let the king send us his pleasure concerning this matter. I am sure that they thought for sure the king would be on their side. So when they write this letter, they never have an inkling that Darius is going to take their side, take the other side, or the side of the Jews. It's interesting though, God really sets all of this up. God has established this and God is protecting them. So we say, well, what in the world does all this history have to do with us today? Here's where I want to come back to us. Guys, even when you try to do something good, there are going to be people who try to tear you down. Even when you're trying to feed people or help people in some way, somebody's going to come along and complain, fuss, carry on. Satan's going to try to stop the work. You would think, oh, we're going to do something great for God, therefore it'll be smooth sailing. There is nothing in the Bible that says that's true. When you do something great for God, instead the darts of the enemy come flying. But here's the encouragement. If God has sent you to do it, He will provide not only the things that you need to do the task, but the path for the task to be done. We serve a great God whose hands are not bound, who is not limited by our governments, by our world, or by technology. God can bring things through. So if God's called you to do something, don't stop. Don't be discouraged, and look for the way in which He leads. Thank you for watching today. I hope you have a great week.